Tencent has announced a handful of rules for streamers playing Tencent games, a move that aims to keep the company on the right side. Chinese regulations that recently went into effect. The list, shared by Nico partners, contains 12 prohibited behaviors ranging from violations of China's social values to distributing or promoting cheats or viruses on air. And Tencent says those that ignore the guidelines risk losing the ability to stream the company's games in the future. Those prohibited behaviors include, in a statement spotted by the Esports Observer, a Tencent representative notes that, as the behavior of streamers reflects back on the company and industry, Tencent has a responsibility to enforce certain standards on the values. The company notes that it plans to strictly enforce those rules across all streaming platforms, productions, institutions, and streamers. There is a natural copyright relationship between gaming contents and live streaming platforms, reads the statement. Tencent, as a gaming streaming platform leader and game publisher, has the responsibility to promote the standardization and authorization of streaming contents in the industry. These rules come as the Chinese government continues to tighten restrictions on video games in an effort to cut down on video game addiction and overindulgence among minors. Legislation from the government has pushed companies like NetEase and Tencent into implementing playtime restrictions and curfews into their games, with Tencent going so far as to test facial recognition tech to enforce its limits.
FIFA 19
Call of Duty, Black Ops 4, and Red Dead Redemption 2 were the most downloaded titles on the PlayStation Store throughout 2018. The news comes straight from Sony, with the company naming the top 20 most downloaded PlayStation 4 and PlayStation VR titles in a post on the PlayStation blog. Familiar names like Beat Saber, Job Simulator, and Super Hot were topped the PlayStation VR download charts, and were joined in the top 10 by the likes of Skyrim and Moss. Although the console maker did not reveal any exact download figures, it's still interesting to see which games thrived on its digital marketplace. Last year, we have spotlighted the 10 most downloaded PS4 and PSVR games below, but those interested can check out the full lists by clicking right here. PlayStation Store's most downloaded PS4 titles. PlayStation Store's most downloaded PSVR titles. Over 5 million copies of Kingdom Hearts 3 have been shipped worldwide since launching last week on January 29th, making it the fastest-selling game in the franchise. A tweet posted earlier today to the official Kingdom Hearts Twitter page announced the news, which extended an appropriate 5 million thank yous to its players. It's worth mentioning that copies shipped does not translate in units sold, but the milestone is pretty unsurprising, given how long Kingdom Hearts 3 was in development for. The number includes both physical and digital copies across all platforms. Over 5 million copies of Kingdom Hearts 3 have been shipped worldwide. We do like to extend a huge thank you to everyone who's joined the journey so far, and we hope you are loving every minute of it. Pick Twitter, com0bgq2l19 for each. In purely mechanical terms, Ni no Kuni 2 is basically a collection of many games. You might expect this to spoil the overall experience, but something about Ni no Kuni 2 helps to make it more than just the sum of its parts, tied together by a strong story. This collection of many games becomes a masterpiece which overcomes the limitations of genre. You'll play Ni no Kuni 2 as the deposed prince of Ding Dong Dell, Evan Petty Wiscott Ujum, founding a kingdom called Evermore. You start by ruling a ragtag band of brigands and pirates, but ultimately bring peace to the world by uniting the realms of Goldpaw, Hydropolis, Broadleaf, and your native Ding-Dong-Dao under a constitution called the Declaration of Interdependence. You may want to look that one over again, because you probably did not read it right. Assuming the role of a great king, you are naturally expected to slay monsters, lead armies, and govern your capital. You go about this by completing a series of surprisingly diverse mini-games, because their mechanics are drawn from a variety of different genres. The only thing which truly ties this together is their consistency with the central narrative. The development studio behind Ni no Kuni to
LEVEL5
borrowed mechanics from the fighting, real-time strategy, and management genres to create these mini-games, firmly couched in their fantasy setting. Each mini-game helps to create an overall experience which defies the typical categories of game design. You assume the role of a deposed prince. The combat system is clearly inspired by the fighting genre, taking place within a strictly defined space. Combat basically consists of an isolated round-on match in which your party squares off against a variety of possible opponents. In terms of tactics, you have both melee and ranged options. Rushing headlong at your enemies, you can defeat them with a combination of quick and charged attacks. But you can also keep your distance in order to whittle away their hit points with arrows, bullets, or spells. The combat system even has an equivalent to randomized item pickups, benefiting from their offensive and defensive abilities. You can bring what are called higgledies into battle with you. These are probably best described as fairies. They normally just roam around the combat arena, but higgledies periodically gather together to prepare a powerful attack which you can activate by approaching their position. They will sometimes heal your party members. 2. The combat draws from beat 'em up and fighting games, borrowing from the real-time strategy genre. Skirmish battles put you in command of a small army. Your objective is to capture and hold a series of control points. Managing a resource called might, you need to be careful about how your forces are deployed, though you can earn more by defeating enemies. But you will need to spend some if you are ever compelled to call for reinforcements. In other words, the best way to keep from running out of might is to have a solid strategy. There are sword, spear, hammer, and bow units in the game, so you need to figure out the order of battle, which best answers to the strengths and weaknesses of each class. You can take up to 4 units of any class into battle with you. Since they have different special abilities, you will definitely want to think hard about your build. Special abilities can turn the tide of battle when they are used effectively. Their strikes, for example, can be absolutely devastating. Skirmish battles have you leading a small army. You get to govern your capital whenever you are in Evermore. Borrowing from the management genre, this consists of building facilities, organizing citizens, and assigning research. Facilities generate a currency called King's Goodies over time, so you have to figure out the most effective way to maximize your income through investment. When you have saved up enough King's Goodies, you can either purchase land or upgrade existing facilities. They provide you with a lot more income once they have been fully upgraded. But expansion is definitely in your best interest. You can squeeze even more King's Goodies from facilities by staffing them with citizens and performing research. So the optimal growth strategy is almost always a balanced approach. You can increase their staff size by upgrading them, but facilities are only allowed so many upgrades. You will, in other words, need to be acquiring land for new facilities on a fairly regular basis. Your citizens are only good for much when they are working. You have to manage your capital whenever you are not adventuring. Spend enough time playing Need no Kunitor, and you will notice that it borrows mechanics from several different genres. While it definitely draws from role-playing games, puzzlers, and even a bit from platformers, Ni no Kuni Tour leans most heavily on the fighting, real-time strategy, and management genres. These were used by level 5 to create the mini-games, which make up most of the overall experience. Use of more than a few puzzles